Welcome to the Laying Foundations podcast. This is your co-host Davis Hambrick. Joining alongside me today is Walker Lott. What's up, Walker?
Davis Hambrick, what is up, man? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Walker Lott. That was weird that you did that, but how you doing today, buddy?
Man, I'm doing really good. We had a wonderful, fantastic. Honestly, dude, I'm
Awesome,
still pumped. I'm pumped from it right now. I'm still on a high
awesome.
from it. It was so
That's
much
right.
fun. So
It
we got
was
to talk to Jesse and Rene, and they are with a podcast called Learnings in Missteps.
that's
In
right.
with apostrophe missteps. They are some really, really cool dudes. Like, I'm serious. We could have gone on for
Too
hours
dark. Yeah,
talking,
exactly.
easily talking with them. And guys, I'm gonna warn you, the podcast is a little long. We might split it into two, might not. It might just be one, just be a long podcast you have to listen to. But seriously, listen to it until the end because it is so good. They have an incredible story.
Mm,
They're brothers, and we joke about it multiple times. They got a big age gap, and it
that's
was
right.
it was pretty funny. But no, they have some really incredible wisdom that they just poured out throughout the entire podcast, but especially at the end. So for real, if you
Mm.
have the time and if you can make it till then, listen to the end because it is so good. Davis, what you get from it?
Man, it was pretty cool. We joked a lot, but getting to talk about the older and younger dynamic,
Yep.
that's the thing that I really try to unpack because obviously we're the younger guys right now, but at some point, we're going to be the older guys and we're going to be
Mhm.
looking at the next generation. So, as these past 2 weeks, we've been talking specifically a lot about trades and that's the part of me of being working for a general contractor now full time is I want to get to know these tradesmen. Yeah, I want to know what they're doing, what they're installing, but I want to know them. And that was
Yeah.
really at the heart of this podcast was like, how do we treat others? How do we treat the person beside me? How do I look at myself and think, okay, you are enough. I love that from
Yeah.
Jesse. And then taking
So
ownership
good.
with Rene, those two things alone, that's worth getting to the end of the podcast because in so many times in life, no matter if tradesman, construction, if you're a lawyer, a doctor, or if you're just somebody sweeping the street,
Scraping the
being
sweet.
there you go. Being heard, someone telling you you are enough. Like
Yeah.
those words just hit home to me. And I'm just thinking, wow, that's the whole goal of this podcast. The whole goal of this podcast is to know that we want to share the gospel. That's we're never gonna downplay the gospel or knowing Jesus Christ. But secondly,
Yeah.
is we want people to after they've encountered us that we've somehow added value and that we've influenced them and we've given them light and that's the whole point of the podcast is to just add value, make people feel like they've been heard, and that we've cultivate a relationship that man, I was just really excited. I don't know. I could ramble about this for a
And
while, but getting to meet Jesse and Rene, like you said, you just have like this kind of high energy right now where it's just like, man, I'm so thankful I got to meet them. And
oh,
man,
without
I'm
a
so
doubt.
thankful that COVID entered Zoom. And because if we didn't have Zoom, we probably never done the podcast. And then, wow, I would have never gotten to meet these guys. So,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't, I can't, couldn't say it better than you did. And guys, I just want to add, we've had a couple of people reach out to us now about our podcast and just send it in info at layingfoundations.com. If you have any questions, if there's something that you like that we're doing, is there something that we can do better, or you just want to say, hey, like, please, please, please reach out to us because we would absolutely love to hear from you. It has meant the world to Davis and I to hear from the men that we've heard from
anybody.
thus far. I know Davis can attest. So please, anything, just reach out to us. We'd absolutely love to hear it from you.
And let's just clear it's contact at laying
Sorry,
dash foundation.
contact. You can tell I don't run that email. Davis runs that email. It's
Well,
contact at
oh,
layingfoundations.com.
secrets out.
Would it be would it be a podcast if I didn't mess up or a word?
There you
That's
go.
awesome. Guys, we'll let you get to the podcast. Again, listen to the end if you have time. It's incredible. So without further ado, Jesse and Renee. Me and Davis talk all the time about, one of the we want to bring value to people because that is the way that you connect with people the most. Because if you can
Right.
bring value to them, then inadvertently they're going to bring value to you no matter what.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's really cool. So you bringing value to your company and to your fellow employees around you, where inadvertently they were able to bring value to you by putting you in another position that you can grow from, develop, and eventually move up to where you are now. That's awesome. That's really cool.
One of the things I
Yes.
love what you said,
Awesome. Awesome.
Jesse, was the second part of asking questions. That
Hmm.
in itself will change your growth. When we're talking about growth, you were talking about that will change your trajectory from just being a flat line to just rolling up, just running
Exponential.
uphill. And it's like, when I wish I would have heard that sooner, because it's just like, well, what do you mean ask questions? It's like, just get over whatever fear or pride you have that you're going to get made fun of, or really anything. Just get over it. If they make fun of you, laugh, turn red, just get over it and just go ask them, because the more questions you ask, you're going to learn more from the veteran in the field that has done this, like Jesse, like an experienced plumber that's done this and knows how to run cast iron pipe and domestic water, and he just knows what he's talking about, compared to me. Like, I've been in the construction, 6 or 7 months, and there's just
Nice.
a knowledge gap. And so, if you're young, that would be my biggest thing: is listen, learn, and lead with questions. Go ask as
That's
many
right.
questions as you can, and just go learn. So that transitions into my next thing. Okay, so we got Jesse and we have Rene. We have the older and younger. All right, and so we're gonna keep playing on this. So I want to talk about this dynamic between the trades, and really just in construction period, is the older generation is taught a certain way, and now the younger generation's coming in, and we don't I don't want to stereotypical or stereotype it, because people just think, okay, it's always the younger generation that is what's causing problems. But, and look at Jesse's kind of like, I don't know, but what is it like? Because for me, I always found that what I can do to go back to adding value is I can go teach this old guy how to use technology, and then he's going to really want to teach me even more. So just both of y'all, let's unwind it. Jesse or Nate, shoot for it.
Yeah. So yeah, Rene is my hero. He's helped me um, get over the damn myth, right? Of millennials, right? It's the next this new generation, because
Thank you, Rene.
he ain't like that. You can tell, like he's gonna go put in the work, put in the time, and make things happen. One part is all the people with the highlights like me, right? The silver hair.
Silver Fox.
Yeah, they, they've got to take ownership for the fact that they are responsible for that generation. We raised that generation. We set
Right.
the example for that generation. Now, beside all that, there's two things that I think would help, rather that I know would help because I've seen it come into play out. And so first, you know, back when I was early in construction, when I was a foreman, I used to go to the coordination meetings, and everybody in the GC trailer was like me. They had the silver hair, they were older folks, they had a lot of experience. And then all of a sudden, they looked like y'all. They were younger. I was like, what the hell happened? Like, yeah, I did get older, but there's this big gigantic gap of like what
Right.
15, 20 years in the volume of people that are coming through construction management programs and so forth. They're filling the general contractor roles. Now, so for those young individuals that are starting their careers as a general contractor, and it's back to what you said, Davis, lead with questions. There's this weird thing that people think because they're the general contractor or work for the general contractor that they must know all, and that in fact they do. The
It's wrong.
reality is dead wrong,
Right.
because none of us do.
Mm-mm.
We're all on the job site because we have a particular expertise that is valuable to executing that contract. And we must value that and we must leverage that. So,
Right.
what I've coached uh, folks that are early in their careers, stop telling that tradesman, that trade partner out there,
That's right.
what to do and how to do it. Because if
Yeah.
they're anything like I was, okay, dummy, I'm going to do exactly what you told me to do. And it's going to
Blame
be
it on you.
Exactly.
He told me.
You told me you're the boss man, right? You're out there swinging your stick. Like, okay, here's what it looks like. Now, so ask them, ask the experience for how would you approach this? How have you dealt with this in the past?
Good.
And Davis,
Love
you've
it.
probably seen it.
That's what I do.
They will, man, they will drop knowledge on you all day long because they are yearning for somebody to pass their knowledge on to.
That's right.
Now, for the other fools that are my generation, like, we really don't know it all. And we absolutely have to continue adding tools to our toolbox.
That's right.
Technology, it's not going away, man. It is not going away. So take a keyboarding class, right? Learn how to use and operate these systems. And it's the same question. Ask somebody, ask one of these younger folks, like, hey, can you show me? Because it's so easy to say, here, do this for me, right?
Yeah.
You got that iPad, can you do the timesheets, or can you go get into Procore or whatever app, whatever new damn app is out there? Show me how to do it. Not, don't be passing that work on to them, because you're going to get left behind. That's the thought I have in terms of the generations.
People love to teach what they know, no matter who it
Absolutely.
is.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And
Because
don't you
then
feel
when you're
appreciated?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you show interest in someone, like you said, they feel appreciated. They feel like, oh man, they care. They actually want to know something, and that opens up a whole nother door for you in every area, because now they're more open. Now you can start asking other questions that normally they would have been closed off to, like, oh, why is he asking me this? But now you've found common ground, which is the
Yes,
key in any relationship.
you got it. The relationships are born in the conversations.
That's good.
You got to ask those questions. All right, Rene, wake up.
You're up.
Okay, so I guess I have a slightly different answer than you. I'll just speak by personal experience. I've observed like this divide, if you will, between the older and younger generation, right? Like in my company, a lot of the older folks, the really experienced people have retired, right? So, like we talked earlier, the job has evolved. So we no longer write down anything with pen and pencil, or everything's turned in on a laptop with this app that we use, right?
Mm.
And this app has a lot of different functions. We literally, like, 95% or more of all anything we document is on this very app, and you can do a ton of things, right? So, geez, like any kind of work documentation, it's on the app. So naturally, the younger folks, they pick up this app right away, which opened the door to the younger people getting foreman jobs, superintendent jobs, administrative jobs, right? And they're kind of the ones now getting that torch from the retired people, right? But in the middle are these older generations, like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like the middle. So you got entry level jobs, you got administrative jobs, and you got something in the middle. Like maybe
Kind
they're
of like
they're one step away.
journeyman, kind of.
Okay, so kind of journeyman level people, right?
Okay.
And I've observed that a lot of these folks feel kind of jaded when they get passed up, because they're younger, that somebody younger than them who hasn't been here forever got the job over them, but they applied for the same job, and they always say like, well, that guy got the job because he was kissing ass or whatever. He's like, he doesn't even have experience. Like, he's only been here 5 years. How is he a foreman? And and there's a ton of people like that. So when that younger dude gets the foreman job, his team is now comprised of these journeyman people, right? And when we get into a situation, right, because nobody knows everything, but like Jesse was saying, you're kind of expected to know everything, right?
Mhm.
Falsely expected to know everything because you have this title, right? So now this young dude is asking these questions like, "Hey, what do you think about this? How do you think about that?" The response from these journeyman people, they're like, "Well, shouldn't you know you're the foreman, or shouldn't you
Oh,
know you're the superintendent?" I hear it all the time in the the little chatter in the break room, like, oh, did you hear that guy got super? He. I feel bad for his people because he's not gonna know. Like, what is he gonna do with this? What is he gonna do when that happens? And it's this older generation, but at the same time, the youth, I feel, has been soft. They've gotten soft. So a lot of the younger people don't even make it to their 10th, 11th, 15th year because they got offended, or maybe they got their feelings hurt when the
Right.
salty dogs are teaching them the only way they know how they were
Right.
taught.
Right.
Back then, we're in a different time, man. Back then, you used to get cussed at, ran off a job, there was fighting, and there was a whole lot of
There
mess of
wasn't
things. It
OSHA.
was a lot.
There was no, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, there was no OSHA. There was a lot of things that was going on in the field that that's not necessarily on the books. The
Right.
HR wasn't this strong presence that it is now.
Right.
So back then you used to handle problems like quote unquote men.
Yeah.
So these people, these people that are coming into the job, they're soft. They're not they're not you got to get thick skin. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
If you want to get this wisdom from these journeymen, these salty dogs, these people that have been here for 15, 20 years, you got to have thick skin. You got to learn that to not take these things personally. That's all they know. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's how they developed, and that's how they were taught.
Right.
Keep that in mind, to not take things personally, and take your lumps and learn from them. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And but like I was saying, like the divide between the older and younger generation, I feel like it kind of fosters this like imposter syndrome, where you feel like, man, it's only a matter of time before they figure out I don't know everything.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I'm constantly thinking about how do we get these two, how do we bridge this gap, man?
Yeah.
Like, yo, you know, they're old and they're salty, but at the same time, HR is a real thing and it can get you fired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is there a way we can tone it down from them? And also from the older generation, also, is there a way that we can toughen up the youth too? Like, don't get upset when somebody calls you out because you're late. Or, don't get upset when somebody makes a joke because you made a mistake. Like,
Right.
whatever, dude. Like,
Right.
it used to be worse. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Everyone gets
Uh,
offended by something now that
Right.
hurts your
yes,
feelings. Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, honestly, and I agree. I think you have a lot. I think a lot of that is true. People on both sides need to toughen up, older and younger, because
Right.
older guys have this, don't challenge me type personality where, oh, they must think I don't know what I'm doing type. And the younger guys are like, oh, they must not think I know what I'm doing. Everyone has, and honestly, we've talked about it before. A lot of it, most of it's pride. I mean,
Yeah.
genuinely, it is. We all have
That's
it.
that's what I was writing down. Is the first two things I thought of, Rene, was pride about the guys that were talking about, hey, like, oh wow, why did he get that opportunity and I didn't? I can go back into my life when I was still in school and building science program, Walker, and it was just, man, he got that internship, really? That guy got that internship with an amazing general contractor, like, really? And it's just like, why did I not get that?
Yeah.
And you just like, it's just pride. And then the other thing I think is funny is 2 years ago, I would have been terrible at this, but going back to the older guy just making fun of you, or just, that's really him showing you that he cares, that really he kind of
Yeah.
loves you a little bit. He likes you. He likes you more than most. And if you would just, as a younger person, take a little time to understand personalities. Man, I have this one superintendent. I'm not going to say his name, but they used to call him Doom Buggy because he just takes off and goes in one direction, and at the end of the day, he's gone. I mean, he just tears through it and just works his butt off. But if you don't know him well and you hear him, you're automatically just scared. And he's not a mean guy, but like, he's just loud. His one volume is like this the entire day, and you're just like, okay, like, all right, sorry. Like, you're just like, man, I understand. But if you understood that his personality was, man, all he did whenever he was growing up is he got yelled at. Man, all he did was when he came up in the trades was he got yelled at. He got yelled at. So he just, that's how he thinks he has to do it. And he's really, I mean, he's really not. You go talk to him by himself, and he's one of the nicest guys I ever met. So you just have to realize that personality. And then the other thing I was thinking of, going back to Jesse, when you're talking about, I personally work for a general contractor, and I'm proud to work for a general contractor, especially the company I work for. But I'm 24 years old, and my title is an assistant field manager, and I'm getting this great opportunity to go lead part of the third floor and do this mock up and this build up of this whole new space and renovation. And these foremen, the average age, I would say, is 50, 55. I mean, 10 years or so, maybe even less than that, they're going to retire. So you're going to tell me I'm going to go tell them what to do? No way in heck am I going to do that. So what I did was 2 weeks before we started, was I went and had a meeting. Nobody from B&G that's on my team is up there. It's just me and the foreman. And I go tell them, guys, I'm 24 years old, and you know that you know more than me. So I'm not going to come up here and start bossing you around and telling you what to do. I know that you know that. But what I am going to ask is that we both give each other respect. What I'm going to ask is that if I mess up, you come to me and us work it out and us talk. And I'm going to do the same thing to you before we go talk to our bosses and get the PMs and everybody involved, and we start yelling and screaming. Like, let's just talk to each other. Let's fix it. And you would be amazed with their eyes and how they're like, wait,
Awesome.
what? You're a young guy that's wanting to do this, and you're admitting this? Like, yeah, I have no problem with saying, oh, cool. I have no clue what that is. Teach me, show me, like, get me there. I want to learn from you. And the guys will literally just carry you. And so that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that, I'm just getting to lead these guys by saying, here, take it, and you guys run with it.
Davis, I
Awesome.
I
Love that.
wish I could take that mindset you have and plug it into anybody that works for a general contractor. I don't care what age they are. I mean, I've spent 3.5 years with Turner Construction,
Right.
work on the dark side, right? Working with the general contractor after 20 years as a trade partner.
Right.
And it doesn't matter the age. Like, if they had that mindset, and I've met a bunch that have that mindset, and man, it is transformative.
Right.
The leaders, their job is to remove the barricades that are
That's right.
keeping people from installing stuff.
That's right.
Mhm.
Bottom line, if you're not removing barricades, you're not doing your job,
Right.
period.
If you're putting up a barricade and telling the drywall contractor that, he didn't attach his drywall to the metal stud the correct way, like, really? Like, come on. I
Yep.
think this guy there, for example, we have a guy, he's our drywall contractor, and probably, I want to say he's in his late 70s. He didn't have to be working right now, but he is. And the stuff that I've learned from him, just because I'm like, hey, well, what's a piece of hat channel? Why do you use that on this portion of brick, but not on this portion? Why'd you do it this way? And he just gets so excited. So, if that's the one thing that I hope to add value from this podcast, is just, guys, just be willing to just swallow your pride, get after it, and ask questions. If you swallow your pride
So
and ask
good.
questions, the opportunity going back to growth and construction, you're going to just accelerate. And this is going to be my last thing, because Walker knows I've said this before, but I keep saying it. Have y'all ever heard of John Maxwell?
Oh yeah,
Hey,
He,
I just
there it
found this in
is.
the used
I
book
love it.
section today.
I love it.
$5.
And
Nice.
right,
Awesome.
he is one of my, obviously favorite guys in leadership, but it got me thinking about, I've said this before, and Walker's already smiling because he knows where I'm going, but it's like the consistency side of leadership. It's really easy if you're going up a hill to fall, because the day that you're not doing that consistent nature of trying to get better, you're going to
Momentum.
fall
Yeah.
down the hill, instead of, okay, each day I'm going to try to get a little bit better, 1% better, 1% better, 1% better. And so that's my thing for in construction. If you swallow your pride, if you ask questions and you try, you will have the opportunity, college degree or not, you're going to end up doing really well in this field. And that talks to if you want to be in a trade, if you want to go work for a GC, if you want to go work in accounting, if you want to do whatever, anything in the construction realm, you don't have to have a degree, and you can just go out there and try and get after it. And I promise you, you're going to have endless opportunities.
I love it. I want to add, a thing I want to add to that too is be willing to admit you don't know what you're doing and swallow your pride, but also be willing to take critiques. and to take advice, because something that me and Davis have been really high on with with our podcast, we have values. We had a podcast that we talked about our values, but one of them is just to be willing to take critiques from people, right? Like we want to know what we can do better. And every time we've had someone reach out to us, we're like, hey, thank you so much for listening. Please let us know something that we can do better in your opinion. And we'll even ask y'all, after this, like what can we do better? What do y'all notice? What's something that y'all do that we don't do? It's just a constant mentality of wanting to improve, in which a lot of people don't have. And Rene, like you've talked about, the people that have been passed up before by someone younger than them, it honestly, a lot of it comes down to they just didn't want to improve. They didn't want to grow. And maybe they did and something else happened. But honestly, like there's a saying that learning starts after school. Like if you don't, I hate it, man. I hate it when people will say, like, when I get done with school or high school, college, I'm never going to read a book again. I'm never going to do this again. I'm like, man, you are cutting yourself so short. Like, if you don't love to learn, then you're going to stay in the same spot for the rest of your life. I just read a book, and he said one of my biggest fears is to look back a year from now, even a month from now, even a day from now, and see that I'm in the same spot that I was the day before, that I didn't grow whatsoever. I'm like, man, that is what everyone should strive to be. So for you guys, honestly, what is your ultimate goal with your podcast and with what you want to see the industry get to in general, in the next 5-10 years? What is y'all's hope for the construction industry?
I'll go
I
first.
want to go first on this one.
No,
okay,
it's my turn now. Go ahead. Go.
So what I'd like to see is I'd like to see a new generation of workers where careers in the trades was their first choice. Instead of like that's their backup plan, or I'm going to do that because it was my only option. No, I want it to be their first choice, but to know and be aware of all the vast opportunity that the trades have to offer. That's what I hope to be. And I also hope my far-reaching goal is to, like, with all the things that I learned here in this podcast and being on other people's podcasts and these conversations, is I want to share this and really like embody all this wisdom and just apply it to my job. You know what I mean? So that I want to bridge that gap between the old and the new.
Awesome.
I want to improve work. I just want to get people motivated, and because like you guys were talking about, like my foreman once, Bino, the guy I was telling you about, he has this saying that says you can't fill a cup that's full. You can't.
Love it.
You cannot teach something to somebody that thinks they know everything, right, and it will ruin you. And I wanna just cultivate an environment where people just want to pour out some of that stuff in their cup and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm ready to take on more knowledge. It's cool. I want to make it cool to learn, cool to ask questions.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that's my goal.
Nice.
Jesse, what about you?
Yeah, so for the podcast, when we launched the podcast, we outlined, what are some indicators that the podcast is achieving its purpose. Right. And I already knew, like, it was 18 months I was going to do it with 0 downloads or 100 downloads. Like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then at 18 months, we'll check and see what we got to do. We've exceeded every one of the milestones or the, those indicators so far, to Rene's disbelief. Guys. He was not, he was not a believer.
Negative Nelly over here.
I wasn't.
But for the podcast, I will celebrate success when I get that young man or that young woman that says, I chose a career in this industry because of one of the stories I heard on your podcast.
That's awesome.
When cool. That happens, I'm on cloud 9. Right. Now, as it relates to the construction industry, I mentioned I'm a plumber by trade. A lot of my friends are going to say that I'm a poser because I haven't put my tools on in like 12 years now. Worked for a general contractor as a regional lean manager for the central region, which meant I got to help the pretty massive organization in their transformation to becoming a lean or enterprise. And I'm on vacation right now for 3 weeks because I'm fixing to take on a national role uh, as a director of safety. And
Congratulations.
which is funny because there's a lot of haters for them safety guys, right? But even
Yeah.
my friends are like, "You gonna be a safety guy? Like, what's wrong with you?" And because it aligns with my vision for the industry. You know, what I want to see in our industry is two things. One is I want to see all the leaders of every organization to take ownership for the miserable systems that are hurting our people, that are suffocating our people from growing professionally and as individuals. It's and what that would look like is they would stop blaming people and they would start evaluating the systems that are in place that are
Love that.
contributing to the outcome that they're frustrated with.
That's
Yeah.
good.
The other thing that I want to see is when we're designing buildings and when we're procuring trade partners and setting up the deal, that the number one uh, criteria for selecting the teams and the designers and et cetera is the focus on eliminating the burden on the worker. When we get to that point, we're going to have a beautiful place for people that are going to want to come and work. We won't be killing people and maiming people anymore. That's what I see.
That's really
Awesome.
good.
Yeah, I love that. The thing I wrote down from Rene is career in the trades is the first choice, and for Jesse, ownership for the miserable systems. I love both of those because I was this close to being a tradesman and not finishing college and just going right into construction, and then the ownership for the miserable systems. That makes me think of, that really applies to whatever person, however they're feeling in that moment. If you're feeling miserable because you're in the system and you have the opportunity to maybe break that or lead differently or try to step out and do something, do it. Go be weird. Go try to do something different than the
Yes.
status quo. And yeah, people are going to look at you weird. Why are you doing it this way? But it's like, man, at the end of the day, if you could hang your hat on, is that you took care of your team and you try and you did something different. It doesn't really matter what someone else thinks. If you take care of your people and you're not killing them and they're happy to come to work and y'all are killing it, then man, that I'm all for that.
Yep. That's awesome.
Hashtag go be weird. I
I love
like
it.
That's
that.
right. That's
It just
right.
comes even what we all four of us have done, started podcast, dude. I mean, not like so many people are afraid to just go out and do something like David said against the status quo, different, right? Because you're going to get made fun of. People are going to talk about you behind your back. You can name
Cool.
1,000 different reasons. In the same book I just read, he said people are more inclined to talk about why something will fail and not why something will succeed.
That's
Yes.
right.
Mhm.
Right.
That's right.
And it's like, why do we do that? Why do we always do a defense mechanism of this is going to fail? It's like people starting a company, doing a new job, going to a different company. You see so many people in the same job that they've been in for 5, 10, 15 years because they're afraid to get uncomfortable, to get into a different job, to go do something different. Like Rene's shirt, discipline equals freedom. I love that. Right there, represent. That's
Oh,
what
he
I'm
saw
talking
it.
about.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, that's it. Just get uncomfortable.
All right. Be weird. Where I
Be
got
weird.
that from, Dave
Hashtag be weird.
Ramsey. I'm trying to pay
Ah,
off those student loans, and he just said, "Be weird. You got to be different. Just try. Go. It doesn't matter what other people think. Be weird." And I mean, hey, I'm pretty weird, so I'm all right with that.
it's good, man. It's all good.
Well, guys, we're starting to get towards the end of it, and we have so appreciated having you guys on. But we have one final question we'd like to ask all of our guests before they leave. So y'all take a second to think about it. But knowing what you know now, we've got two different, like I'll go on it again. We got two different ages groups over here. So knowing what you know now, from your age, what would you go back and tell your 20-year-old self if you had that knowledge? If you were able to go back and talk to yourself, what would you tell them?
Ooh.
That's about the reaction we have every week. I love it.
Do you need time to think, Rene?
Blank.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. Um, a lot, for one, a lot. But I think it all ties into just take ownership for what's going on in your life. I met this dude in I was actually doing HVAC at the time with TD Industries with Jesse actually. He was, I don't remember your job title, but Jesse got me a job there. And there was this guy that I was working under, and I was complaining about stupid stuff. I think I was complaining about my car. I had bought this lemon from freaking Craigslist, right, for like $1,200 because I wanted a car right now. I wanted to live on my own. I was living with my friends and I needed a car and I needed it right now. So I bought a $1,200 car on Craigslist, barely test drove it, and I bought it cash. Well, the car had an oil leak that they didn't tell me about. The driver's side door didn't open. It always had issues starting, and I was complaining to this guy that I was working with about my luck. I told him I had bad luck. This and this was happening to me. This was happening to me. This kind of stuff always. I just have bad luck. And he told me, he said, you know what, Rene? He said, you make your own luck. And I was like, dang, I didn't get it at first. But and I wish I would have heard that earlier. Like, just own what's happening in your life.
That's right.
Like that book that I read from Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership, yo, that changed my perspective on everything. And like, just things have been going so much better ever since I took ownership of what's happening to me, or not even what's happening to me, what I'm doing to myself, but the decisions that I'm making. I've like, I mean, I'll be explicit, but I've like pissed away a lot of opportunity because of the poor decisions I've made coming up in the world. And I would just tell that guy, look, nothing is happening to you, Rene, young Rene. Nothing is happening to you. You're making decisions that are getting these results.
Good.
So that's what I would say. Own your mistakes.
We are our own worst enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Me, I have this thing about two things. It's like big rocks. I'm always focused on the two big rocks. So I would tell my 20-year-old self, the first one is be responsible and cherish the relationships. Because I knew ever since I was young, like even in maybe elementary school, that I could influence people and I could capture people's attention and in my younger days get what I wanted from them. However, I manipulated people and took advantage of them. And as soon as I was done getting what I needed from them, I would discard them. And there's some emotional baggage that comes with that. I didn't know it then, but it snuck up and got me. So it would be cherish the relationships, cherish that gift of connecting with people. The second thing is you are enough. It was a tough time because I was, all my friends were in university and they're amazing human beings now. And I always had this feeling that I wasn't enough, and that still doesn't go away. I'm enough now, and I was more than enough then. And had I embraced it back then, I would have had a little more fun along the way.
Man, I love that. That's really good. I haven't told Davis this story either, but I went to one Bible study. So my girlfriend lives in Atlanta, and a guy that she had shadowed, she is trying to be a doctor, and so he invited her. He's awesome dude, really really godly man, loves Jesus, like awesome dude. I've only met him once, but just could tell that right away. And he invited her to a Bible study, so she invited me to do it because I was there on that weekend. So we went, and we were the youngest people there by at least 30 years. I mean, it was a group of, I'm serious, or 20 years maybe. It was a group of 40 to probably 20 or 40 to 50 to 60 to maybe even 70-year-old. I think so, 7-year-old. It was a group older. So whole different life stage, and we were the youngest there. But I spoke up at one point because they were good about getting the people to talk and everything. But one thing that I took away from that I noticed is that no matter how old you are, everyone is still struggling with something. You look up and you think that people in the 50, 60, 70, 80, that they got life figured out, that they don't have to worry about being scared or having people care about what you think, etc. Right. No, everyone is the exact same as you are. They all have the same struggles or similar ones. They all have the same thoughts. Some people are just either have matured better. Some people have kind of worked through it, gotten over, and then some people have stayed the same. They still struggle with the same things they've struggled with. They were 14, 15, 16 years old. Everyone's the same, no matter what your age is. And so I think what Davis was talking about earlier is just get in their shoes, because they're struggling with the same thing that you are. That's right. To just have empathy, right? Just step in their shoe for a little bit and realize that, hey, we're the same. Everyone's got it. Just when it comes down to it, equal level playing field. No matter if you went to college, no matter if you started in the trades, no matter if you did this or that, did that. I mean, it was crazy. It was such a just light bulb moment when I was sitting there like, man, this is crazy. Like it was wild. Man, I loved it. It was awesome.
I love that too.
Yeah, dude, I could
go for it.
I'd like to just make a comment about that. Like, I totally freaking feel that, because like it's never failed. Every time I got promoted, right, and somebody that I've worked with before, it could be like I've worked with them personally or kind of nearby them. They'll be like, "Oh, I heard you're whatever job now, right? You got it made in the shade." And like every job that I've gotten, every promotion that I've gotten, it's been less and less physically demanding, but more and more administratively demanding, right? So I'm like, no, dude, like I have the same stress as you. Arguably even more, like, because like there's some jobs that I've done that job that I left, and that the person that was still working the job that I did, and I'm telling myself like, no, man, like I wish I had that. I wish that was my only stress back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yes, like everybody's dealing with things. Everybody, no matter how high you get in your organization, it all comes with its fair share of stress.
That's right. I love y'all's 2 points, the different sides, because to me, I see it kind of equally. You are enough, talking about, speaking into someone's life. Really, you can even just say that to yourself, but saying you are enough, it's going to that person and listening and not even really worrying about yourself. You're building that person, you're speaking words into them. And, God calls us to do that, to speak into people's life, but then taking ownership for your own mistakes and your own things. Like, I started to think about how Paul talks about in the Bible of getting rid of the old sin, taking ownership of it and repenting and just changing. I'm on a different path now. I'm not going to let that stuff continue to weigh me down. So going back and saying, man, you're enough. You're good enough. You're going to make it. And if you can believe in yourself, if you can tell yourself you're enough, if you can take ownership, man, I don't know. It doesn't matter really what you're doing as a job. If you can do that as a human being, it's just an amazing feeling to be able to have that, to be able to go, all right, I'm going to bed. You're enough. I can take ownership of that. I love it, guys.
Man.
Yeah, dude. And it really influences decision making too. Like, again, another nugget from Bino. We got to get him, man. I need your help, Jesse, to freaking convince him, dude. Like, another nugget from Bino. He told me one time I was really struggling making decisions when I was working when I was working in leak detection. I was like, hey, Bino, I think there's a leak here, but I'm not sure because of this and this and this. And this was a constant thing. I was like always calling him almost daily. Like, hey, can you check this? Can you, he was always having to double check my work. And finally he told me, he's like, look, Rene, if you're scared to be wrong, you're not gonna make it here.
Wow.
And like, dude, that freaking changed my trajectory big time. Like, ever since then, it's like, you're right. It's so stupid. Like, why am I so afraid of being wrong? What's I made the best decision I could with the information that I had at
Right.
that time. So, like as long as I can justify my decision, or like not even justify, just like explain my thought process at the time, it's all good. I did my best and I'm enough, and it really, really, it really, really changes your decision making when you're able to even almost forgive yourself for making a mistake,
That's right.
and say like, what, I made a mistake, but I'm enough.
I love that.
It's a very powerful concept.
Man, seriously, we can go on forever. This podcast has been awesome. You guys are fantastic. We would love to get you back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
It's been fun.